the way that they
Good morning and welcome to the Master's Breakfast. I am the assistant gong master while Dick is vacationing in Minnesota or somewhere where it's very cold. I have no idea why he does that, but anyhow, he's going to be gone a couple weeks, so you get me. Before we say the pledge, and the normal thing that we do is have the Pledge of Allegiance, a prayer, and then we introduce the speaker. But we have some announcements. And Helen, are you right?
Right here. Yeah. Oh, me. I'm never the second Helen. Hello.
Is it Zamora?
Zamora.
Zamora.
Exactly.
Okay. And tell us who you're with.
I'm with the Weak Horse Museum. The Weak Horse Museum. Okay. So I brought some little information things here, and we would like to invite everybody down to the Weak Horse. It's a really cool museum. It's really wonderful paintings in there that he has done over the years. I don't know how many people know anything about Olaf Weghorst, which I didn't know nothing about him until I went to work there. Anyway, he was living in El Cajon for about 40 years. He lived in a little house over off of Renette Park. They moved the house over to the property where the museum is. So there's a beautiful botanical garden there, and then we have the museum. So we would like to invite everybody over. They're open on Friday and Saturday in the afternoons from 11 to 4 or something like that's on here. And then I'm going to be there Sundays from 11 to 3. So it's free, it's amazing, and we want everybody to come out and take a look around.
Thank you. Where's it located?
Location.
I talked to her about the Master's Breakfast, about us getting together, get everybody, and we go over there like on Sunday afternoon and have a nice little party. And I've been selling Olaf Weghorst now for about 50 years. And Olaf and he's been right here in this building many times. And so we can do a nice talk about Olaf Weghorst. But if you guys think would you like to go over there and do it, raise your hand. Would you like it? We'll have you come over. And we're going to have a nice little get together. Helen will be there. We'll have all the individual people there. I think it would be a lot of fun to have a conversation because it is a nice museum.
Thank you. Good.
Okay.
Thanks, Helen. Anna, come on up.
I'm right here.
She has it. I do. I recognize you.
And of course, you know me, Anna Holmes, a Republican woman of California, the El Cajon Valley representative, and I'm inviting every woman who is in this area who would love to come and be part of our group. Okay, we have our meetings on the third Tuesday, and as of this month, because of Helen Zamora's help, we are now having our meetings over at the Olaf Weghorst Museum. It starts at it starts at 7:30. We actually have women walk in at 7. We'll be ending at 8:30, so you can come right here after that. So we're just saying right now, please come third Tuesday at 131 Rhea Avenue. It's right behind me on the main street, so you can see it. Great parking and excellent location. Please come to and thank you very much.
We can always count on her for an announcement. That's good. Okay, if you'd all stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, have a prayer, and we'll get on with the program. Follow. I pledge allegiance to the flag of United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and this time to come together as friends, as Christians, to just fellowship with people of the same mind. Father, we love you first of all, and that's one of the reasons we come here every Tuesday, is because we love you. We love Benjamin and Helen and all the effort that they put forth for our benefit, for the furtherance of God's kingdom. Protect them. Put your hedge of protection around our president. Let no harm come to him. There are so many people that would like to kill him. But Father, you've already proven you're not going to let that happen. So we thank you for that. Make this a blessed day, a blessed meeting. Bless our speaker, Steve, as he comes and shares from his heart. It's in Jesus' name we ask it. Amen.
Amen.
Is there anybody here for the very first time? Who's never been here before? And what is your name? Ruby. All right.
Ruby.
Huh? Good, good, good. And they're the diamonds? No. How do you feel about forgiveness? Do you find it difficult to forgive?
Sometimes.
Most people do find it difficult to forgive. But what does God say we are supposed to do?
Forgive.
How many times?
2.
Just 2 up here from a pastor. That must be it. That's it. 2.
Too many.
He's a very, very wise man. It's a lot. It really is. And I think if we learn to do what the Bible asks us to do, and that's forgive, 499 times or something, it becomes a habit. It becomes a lifestyle. We cannot carry grudges or ill will towards anybody. It will not destroy the person that you're concerned about or not concerned about. It destroys you in the process if you don't do it. Forgiveness is the best revenge. Forgiveness does not change the past, but it does enlarge the future.
Yes.
It changes who we are. But we have a man I've known since, I don't know, a young man, a long time. He's now a councilman. I asked him the other day when I saw him at church, I said, "Do you like politics?" What do you think his answer was? "I love it. I love it." And he's doing a fantastic job. So will you help me welcome to the Master's Breakfast, Councilman Steve Goble.
Great. Thank you for a very generous introduction, Russ. You know, people have said politics. The root word of politics, of course, is the Greek poly, meaning many, and ticks, blood-sucking creatures. So you put those together, and politics are, well, you get the idea. You get the idea. I am enjoying just started my third term. I was reelected last November. I had an opponent, thank you. I had an opponent that I met with recently, a little while ago. She's a very nice young lady. She works for the county. And I got 67% of the vote. She got 33% of the vote. So it was a nice vote of affirmation for people in the district to say, we're on the right track. And so I want to talk to you today about some of the things that I think we're on the right track with about. Specific, and I'll take some questions at the end. I don't have a full morning, so maybe that's to everybody's advantage, because not everybody likes to hear a politician speak a lot. Less is best, if you know what I mean. But I want to talk to you about the whole immigration thing. That's kind of a hot topic right now. It's in the news. I had the pleasure of meeting Tom Homan back in December. President Trump was elected November 5th. November 10th, he named Tom Homan the border czar. And then 2 days later, a friend of mine here in El Cajon, who's a businessman, said, well, I've known Tom since the early 90s. Tom lived in El Cajon. If you know where Oakdale is, right there at 2nd Street, there's that big yellow, used to be a Der Wiener Schnitzel, now it's El Compadre. And Tom said I would get a carne asada burrito from there before I headed out to my border patrol station in Campo. So he has a lot of love for El Cajon and history for El Cajon. And so my friend put us in touch, and we went out to Phoenix to Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA conference, which was phenomenal. And I said, well, we should invite the mayor, because that's probably the good thing to do. I'm sure Tom's going to want to talk to the mayor about the three of us. Out and met with him in a restaurant after the end of the conference. And we talked about, so what do you want to do with immigration? I mean, there were so many stories about just people flooding across the border, unchecked, unvetted, unknown about their intentions towards our country, about their ideas of what they want to do with our country. So this was a chance to just hear what he had to say. There was a memo that went out in October of last year, where finally the Department of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, had to tally up how many criminals, convicted criminals from their homeland or from here, or whatever, are living in our country illegally. And it was 425,000 people were living in our country as of last fall. They have been convicted of, well, 62,000 for assault, 56,000 for drugs, 13,000 for murder.
Whoa.
Living free, and 16,000 sexual assault. 222,000 have pending criminal charges, but they're roaming free in our country. So that's 650,000. So that was the pool there. So the natural question is, well, so how many of those are in El Cajon? Up to 200 of those are in El Cajon zip codes. These are people with serious charges. And Tom Homan said, we'd rather get them out of your jails. We'd rather your jail hand them over. Because there are other people in the household. And we don't know what we're walking into always. And so it's a safety factor for everybody. And he said, frankly, if there are other people living in the home who are there illegally, and if they give us a hard time in that situation, they're going to go too. This is the collateral. You've heard about collateral arrests. These are people who necessarily aren't convicted, but they are here illegally, and they got in the way of justice being served for the people who are on the targeted list. That's the collateral. They'd rather take them out of jail, but many jails won't transfer. Now, here in San Diego County, our sheriff, Kelly Martinez, has indeed transferred some to ICE after they were done with their processing or whatever in jail. 23 last year. So I don't know the circumstances, but at least it's happening somewhat in San Diego. She says, I'm going to follow state law. So California is a sanctuary state. What is a sanctuary state? Well, it has laws limiting local law enforcement from working with the federal government. They're saying there are things you can't do to help the feds. And that's a 10th Amendment issue. The 10th Amendment says the federal government cannot force the state or cities to enforce federal laws. The feds have to do it. Now, sometimes in some other states like Florida, they can cross-swear the deputies to be federal agents as well. And that's a different kind of thing. But in California, we can't do that. So what this law does is, the intent was to protect the undocumented immigrants, but it protects good and bad. And that's the unintended consequences, protecting 200 bad people in El Cajon. And when I say they've done bad things, and we'll get to the unaccompanied minors part in a little bit. So that's the challenge that we face. So in California, in 2017, we had this thing called Senate Bill 54, SB 54. It limits what our police officers can do. We cannot share with ICE information with ICE. If we come, first of all, we don't have any databases. If we pull somebody over, we have no idea if they're here illegally or not. And in some cases, that's not the charge of our local police. It's to protect and serve, not to detain and deport. That's the Fed's job. We'll do what we can if we come across somebody dangerous, and that's what we'd like to do. If I pull over one of these 200 people in a traffic stop, I don't know who they are because I don't know who's here illegally. If they don't have a warrant out for their arrest, our cops have to let them go. We need access to that database to know who are these people. That is common sense. I'll tell you, I have a sense that the immigration has many different problems, many different situations, many different kinds of people who come to this country. And so there has to be different paths for different people. I have compassion for somebody who has been here 10 years, has been paying property taxes, sales taxes, perhaps owns a business, has been paying payroll taxes, has not taken welfare, has not gotten even a traffic ticket. Logically, to me, there seems to be, that's the kind of person I want in America. So if they came here illegally 10 years ago, they should have some consequence to that. Perhaps pay a fine. If I run a traffic light, I pay a fine. And maybe there's a fine that's proportionate to their crime. But they've been good for 10 years. And if they promise to keep good for another X number of years, that's the kind of people we want. There have to be different solutions for different situations. But for these bad guys, we need help finding them. So we cannot give information to ICE if we find it. I'll give you an example. About a month ago, there was a traffic accident. It was a fatality. A driver of an SUV made a left turn in front of an oncoming motorcyclist. Broadside of the motorcyclist died. The driver of the SUV ran from the scene, and we went to the house where the car was registered, and the person was not there. The person's family member said he ran because he's not in the country legally. So now we've got and we're pretty sure he's gone to Mexico. So this is an example. We need to find that person and bring that person to justice because it was a fatality, it was a DUI. So there are different situations and there are different solutions, is what I'm saying. However, we can work with ICE if we're part of a task force. You may have seen in the news when ICE goes in, sometimes they're with DEA, they're with Homeland Security investigations, they're with ATF, because there are more charges for these really bad guys than just being here illegally. So we can participate in that. And there's a narrow group. If you were convicted of a crime, deported, and came back, that's like the one instance our police can arrest them and hold them. But there's very few people like that. The problems for our police. Here's the big issue with SB 54. I'm a substitute teacher, so I have a teaching credential issued by the state. I can teach anywhere in the state. I get hired on by a district. For a while, I was hired by Cajon Valley and by Grossmont High School District. Now it's just Grossmont. So I can work anywhere in the state. The state can suspend my credential to teach if I do something against state law. It's the same for police officers. Their power to be a police officer comes from the state. We employ them, and the law allows us to form a police department of licensed police officers, but their license comes from the state. So if they do something against state law, especially as immigration, they can have their license suspended, their certification suspended. Really bad, and the state can sue to revoke their police powers, and then you can never be a police officer in California again. So that's the challenge for police. Through my friend and Tom Holman, I've been able to meet some other people in the federal government law enforcement area. And one of them said, we don't want to put your police officers' credentials at risk. We're not going to ask them to go do something with us that's going to put them in trouble with the state. It is what it is right now. That's just the environment we're in. People will say, well, stand up to the bully. Well, I'll tell you how we're going to do that in a little bit. Sometimes, here's an interesting story. I've talked to 5 different police officers from 3 different agencies, retired and active. My brother-in-law is one of them. He was a San Diego police officer in the early 90s, and he was doing a patrol in La Jolla one night. They were looking for a serial rapist who had just committed another in the series. And he's driving around, and he comes across a Border Patrol van. And the Border Patrol says, hey, what are you doing? Oh, we're out cruising, looking for this guy. He's got a red sweater, blue jeans, dark hair, mustache, 5'8". He's the serial rapist we're looking for. And the Border Patrol guy said, huh. And he got out of his car, and he opened up the door to the van, and he goes, this guy?
Wow.
And my brother-in-law says, yeah, that's the guy we're looking for. And in that situation, Border Patrol handed him over to the police, not the other way around. Because he said, and I said, I think I know the answer, but tell me why. And he said, because it's better that this guy go through the court system and be convicted as a rapist and then deported, than be deported with no conviction on his record, where he goes into Mexico or some other country and then comes back and does it again. What an interesting thought that there's a lot of nuances to this immigration thing. So nationally, last week there's a representative in Colorado. His name is Gabe Evans. He has introduced House Resolution 1680, and it would allow local, here's the issue. In the state of California, the state said, local law enforcement agencies cannot work with federal immigration authorities, except under some rare circumstances. Well, our argument, the mayor's argument, my argument is, what if we want to work with the federal immigration? The 10th Amendment says you can't force us to enforce federal law. But what if I want to enforce federal law to get 200 bad guys out of our city? That's the issue, is can we do that? And so working with some of the federal people I've been able to meet, that is a legal challenge that we're pursuing also. But this is legislation that would do that nationally. That would allow local law enforcement to work with federal people nationally, bypassing the state. And it would give indemnification to local law officers if they do anything. We will defend you if the state come after you, which is important.
Is that specific to immigration?
Yes. This is immigration related. Now, you heard about the 600,000 that I told you, 650,000 that were convicted or charged with crimes. By the way, it is a misdemeanor to be here in the country illegally, a federal misdemeanor. Now, don't get confused, because I thought misdemeanor, well, that's no big deal. Well, apparently, at the federal level, a misdemeanor, you know what else is a federal misdemeanor? Kidnapping of a political figure.
Wow.
That's a federal misdemeanor.
What?
So it's almost like state felonies are equal to federal misdemeanors. So don't be fooled when they say it's a federal misdemeanor to be here illegally. It's a big deal. And a contact that I made said, you can be arrested, not convicted, arrested twice for shoplifting. And if you're in the country illegally, that's a deportable sequence because that's moral turpitude. So there's a lot of different nuances to, the whole immigration thing. 300,000 unaccompanied minors, Tom Holman said. We need to find them. They came across the border without any family member. And a lot of them are between the ages of 12 and 15. And of course, we're all concerned about human trafficking.
Yeah.
We want to make sure, are these kids safe? So there may be up to 52 in El Cajon, unaccompanied minors. So we want to do welfare checks to go visit them. And four of the 52 are deportable. The other 48 are not deportable. They're here with a sponsor. A sponsor signed a paper. I will care for this child when the child comes across the border. I will house them, feed them, care for them, things like that. So 48. So we would love to go do welfare checks. Well, there's a little stickiness there with that. Is that considered helping the feds? And again, they don't want to ask the police to do something to risk their license before there is cover in place. So that is an issue there. We just want to go knock on the door and say, is so-and-so here? The sponsor lives here. Is the child okay? That's all we care about. Are they here? Are they okay? I don't care about anything else. Just, are they here? Are they okay? They're not being trafficked. They haven't been sent somewhere where you don't know. They're here and they're okay. Check. On to the next one. That would be a great thing to solve for El Cajon. So that is all I have on the immigration. Do you have any questions before I brush on bullet points and other topics? Yes.
Having to do with what is a sponsor. This is one of my questions since you just brought that up. Can you be an NGO to be a sponsor? What does it take to be a sponsor? Because it would seem to me there could be some irregularities with being a sponsor.
Yes. Years ago, when I had my Post-Atlantic store out in Rancho San Diego, I was a notary, and I notarized sponsorship forms all the time. Somebody just fills out a form, a federal form, with their name, address, their income, some kind of stuff, and I notarize you are who you say you are, and you live at this address, those kind of things. And then that goes to the federal government, and then they take it from there. So that is how you apply to be a sponsor. Are they vetted? I don't know. I don't know. With 300,000 coming across the border, I doubt all 300,000 had sponsors that were vetted.
But it does take specific qualifications to be a sponsor.
Yes. Yeah, you have to identify, fill out a form, have it notarized, those kind of things. Now, not all 300,000 were sponsored because some of them came across the border. Some of you may have heard of Southwest Key, which is a non-governmental organization, NGO. They have a facility here in El Cajon. There are 2 of these minors in the custody of the NGO. And so we have gone to Southwest Key before on a complaint, are these kids okay? And we've gone, and indeed the environment was safe, it was clean, it was good. So at that particular facility, we did check it out, and the kids are okay. Did our local responsibility. I can't say that for all the NGOs across the city. That is huge money. If you want to watch a stunning documentary, watch James O'Keefe does Project Veritas, the hidden camera, Planned Parenthood videos and things like that. He did one on immigration. It's called Line in the Sand. It just came out like a month or so ago. You've got to watch it. It just talks about all the kids and all the NGOs, and there is hundreds of millions of dollars going to these organizations. In fact, Jewish Family Services here in San Diego was reported last month, they just lost $22 million contract because the border is so tight now, they're not getting any kids to come to their facility. $22 million.
Steve, what was the name of that again? Lions what?
Lines in the sand.
Line in the sand, like drawing a line in the sand. Line in the sand. I think it's on Charlie Kirk's website, which is turningpointusa.com, I think it is. For like a $10 monthly subscription, you can watch it and then desubscribe or something. It's really good to watch.
So, Steve, the kids that approach the border, I've heard that some of them already had identified a sponsor within them.
Yes.
Were they pre-assigned even before they approach?
Once they get here,
It's not until they get to the border.
not till they get here, who's your spot? Do you have a sponsor? Who? Oh, okay, we're going to send you here, we're going to send you here. This is how, have your sponsor come get you. I'm not sure of the sequence whether the sponsor comes here.
Who assigns these sponsors, though?
Usually they're a family member, aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, who lives here where the family lives down in another country. It's usually a family member, but we want to go do our welfare checks to make sure it's not something more nefarious. Yeah, good question. Other questions? Yes.
Why were they allowed to come over the border without a sponsor? Especially, I'm talking about the children.
I've heard that families would say, I want my kid to have a better life, so I'm going to send my kid. Take the chance. It was heartbreaking to say, you're going to send your kid to America and you don't even know what's going to happen?
Wow.
But in some cases, that was why kids were sent. It was for a better life. Or they got connected with somebody and it didn't end up for a better life. It was something more evil. Human trafficking is a problem because drugs, it's a physical product, whereas human trafficking, the trafficker is never going to be caught with all these drugs or something. It's a human, so they don't have any evidence to come back, and the child won't testify against their captor for fear of family members being hurt or other threats, things like that. Yeah.
We just brought in, I think, 15 or 16 cartels. Our state, our country, just brought them in from Mexico, and we brought them into our country to prosecute them. My question is why didn't they prosecute them in Mexico? And have our guys go down there and do it all there? Why bring it here and have the American people have to pay hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to do that?
I have an answer to that. So they were actually prosecuted in Mexico. Mexico had these people in their jails, but the United States wanted to come here and face their charges in the United States. So Mexico, who hardly ever does that, relinquished these people to the United States.
There were 29.
29? Okay, yeah, 29.
Yeah, that just happened a couple of days ago, didn't it?
Yeah, it just happened.
Yeah.
I didn't get all the facts, but I just don't understand why, if they'd already been convicted of crimes, why didn't they go ahead and put them away, because it was for big bad stuff. So why do we have to do it here to get them re-prosecuted again with all the expenses that goes with it? But, so that's why I'm trying to
So the United States doesn't have any assurance that these people are going to actually face the music south of the border, and they have crimes that they committed against America. The United States wants them here, face a trial here, and either get locked up forever. Where in Mexico, you really don't know, how soon they get out.
Got it.
Once again, the city of El Cajon just did a resolution that had to deal with violent offenders. So it didn't really have to deal with not necessarily just unaccompanied minors. We're talking about violent offenders. Now, my question has to do with, how well have we actually begun to do that as a city? And are we hesitating because of the state?
So I met with the San Diego, my friend and I. He's former law enforcement, and I'm on the policy side. So the two of us go really well together because he knows the cop language and I know the policy language. And together we really have a great team going. So he arranged a meeting with the head of ICE in San Diego, and the head of Homeland Security in San Diego, Homeland Security Investigations. We met 2 weeks ago today for 2 hours, and we talked about how can we get this done. And they've pushed it up the chain, and so now the number one guy nationally for ICE is aware, and I can tell you that on the AFC Championship Day, which was like January 28th, that thing, Mr. Holman was in the White House watching the football game with the president and said, you know, there's this city in California that actually wants to help. Can I send my staff, use staff resources? And the president said, yes, you can. So the president has heard of El Cajon, and we have had access to people down the chain.
But as of now, has anything happened? I'm thinking what I've seen. When I go over to our neighborhood, Los Coches Walmart, I will see lots of men standing there looking for jobs, other men bringing, you know, fruit and things to cars. I also see that at Home Depot. Once again, we did not have that until the last 4 years, and that we've had so many here in El Cajon. So are we doing anything to try to find out where these violent offenders are?
Yes, there's two things. Number one, the chain that we're working in has included the Attorney General's office. And they're trying to, I've asked for indemnification for our police officers if they happen to do something that is helpful in this area. If somebody runs the Pine Valley Border Patrol checkpoint and they come down the hill and the Border Patrol starts a chase, coming down Interstate 8, and they get off on the 2nd Street in El Cajon, we can't do anything about it.
Wow, that's a shame.
It's an immigration matter. We can't do anything about it. However, if they run a red light, now we can get involved because they've broken a state law, running a red light. So if we all happen to stop at the same time and somebody sees the person with the El Cajon police and the Border Patrol, the same thing, and the person gets in the Border Patrol car, I don't want them complaining against our cops that we did an immigration enforcement. No, it was a red light on our part, it was an immigration on their part. I want protection for our officers. Mm-hmm. So that's what we are seeking at the Attorney General level, that legal protection, and also to consider a lawsuit against the state for not allowing us to work directly with the feds whenever we want to, can. You know, we're busy enough, believe me, we're busy enough with all the other things going on, especially homelessness and things like that. But on the occasion that we come across somebody, we want to get them out of our community. That's safe for everybody, every culture. So what are we doing? We're working through the legal channels, and we're working through the local federal channels here. It takes some time to kind of get all these things lined up before you launch the ducks.
I like the fact that you're a procedural person. Charter, we are El Cajon, a charter city, so we don't deal with the general law that is of the state of California. But does that make a difference for us dealing with immigration, illegal immigration?
Yes, yes. There are some laws that California said this applies to both general law cities and charter cities because it applies for the welfare of everybody in the state. And law enforcement is one of those issues that's good for everybody in the state. So there are some things that we get to do as a charter, and there are other things we don't. Let me touch on homelessness really quick. Update on the tiny homes out of...
No, you're fine. I just want to get up here.
Meridian Baptist Church is where we have 6 emergency cabins. The past 2 years, 47 women and children have gone through those things. 78% success rate getting them into more permanent housing. So it's a great model. And so I'm going to Lemon Grove City Council meeting tonight to share those success, to try to help calm the people out there to say, it's okay if you vet the people coming through. The key was in vetting. There are so many, unfortunately, homeless people in our community. We can actually choose those who want help. Those who want help will succeed. But there are rules if you want to be part of this program. You get about 90 days to work with the counselor to get onto your next level. And after 6 months, if we give you an extension, if you're not there, you gotta go. We'll put you in a motel for a month, but after that, you're taking up room for somebody who really wants to work and get going. 78% success rate, including kids, young kids. So Lemon Grove, people there up in arms, how can you let sex offenders and robbery guys live in these tiny homes? Well, we vet, and the church said, we'd like just women and women with children as part of their agreement as a site host. So we've had 0 complaints from the police, or 0 complaints from the elementary school across the street. In fact, some of the homeless women in the other cabins do daycare for each other so that you can go to an appointment for a job interview or something like that. And they also provide childcare after hours, after school is out. Well, another one of their homeless companions is at work trying to get themselves better. So it's very organic how this thing is working, and it's very low cost, very low cost. No calls for service from the police. Police haven't been there once in 2 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
For 47 women and children. No complaints for the elementary school across the street, and no complaints from the neighbor on the other side of the wall. In fact, they repainted their apartment complex because they said, oh, you've improved your property, so I better improve mine. And they redid some stuff there. So homelessness is going great. What else is going on? Well, the mayor caught you up, I think, last week on a lot of stuff in El Cajon.
Where are those tiny homes?
3rd and Washington. There's an ARCO station at the corner of Hamishaw and Washington, and they're right behind the wall of the ARCO station on Meridian Baptist Church.
School is that?
That's across the street.
Which one is it?
Meridian. Meridian. Okay, so that's what's going on with immigration. It's a lot of nuances, but we're actually trying some things. We've got some great relationships that I think have been a godsend in terms of our capabilities and interesting introductions. So we're working on it, and you can see there's a lot of moving pieces to that. Yes?
Question, it's a little off topic, but has there been some determination what might be done with the shopping center? You know, it's not doing so well.
Parkway Plaza?
Yes.
So Parkway Plaza is owned by 3 owners. The majority owner is Israeli bondholders. It's an Israeli bankruptcy court for a couple of years now. Macy's owns its pad, and the old Sears owns that little furniture, the old Sears property. And the Israeli bondholders have a right to say no to any project that Macy's or Sears wants to do. If Sears wants to build a new restaurant out at the corner, the Israeli bondholders can say no, and it scraps the whole thing. So we're trying to work through that.
Has there been any thought maybe if they do reprocess the property, to maybe turn it into something that El Cajon used to have, and that's a facility for a racetrack?
This Cajon Speedway. I lived up in Fletcher Hills, and I could hear the roar of the engines every Friday night. And I had, made myself little green flags and checkered flags and stuff, and jumped off the retaining wall in our backyard and go, go, go! And it was a great.
If you live within a half a mile, you can hear it.
You could hear it, and it was in the valley. There are no plans out here. The 50-year lease ran out, and then the FAA said the airport property can only be businesses that are airport related. So if you are a supplier or repair or something, you can be on airport property, but not a speaker. Parkway Plaza, we would like to rebuild into a Little Italy kind of concept with housing above and restaurants below and a big promenade with gardens and greenway and stuff like that.
I think something like that could financially survive, and El Cajon is not a wealthy area.
It's changing. It's changing. It's starting to, there are areas that are being renewed. Empty lots are now updated condos and apartments and things. So out at the MTS transit station, where I'm on the MTS board, we've been trying for 2 years to get 2 4-story condos / apartments out there, and we just run out of state income tax credits to make that financially feasible. But we're not giving up.
And another real silly question. Is there any chance of getting that roundabout or Elkhorn Boulevard removed?
He's talking about the perfect roundabout.
Yeah, you know, roundabouts they frustrate me, but they slow down traffic, and we get more complaints about speeding in the city than we do about roundabouts.
Well, considering you got an articulated fire truck and articulated buses, that makes it a little difficult for them to squeeze through there.
It does, unless they choose alternate routes. Sergio.
Just want to ask you, do you have any specifics that we can break for you?
I'm praying that this immigration thing, the people that I've been able to meet, I would never have thought I would have been able to meet. So I'm praying that that goes somewhere for the good of our community and our country.
Go ahead.
In future development for housing in the city, do you see the city having a directive to have more home ownership, i.e. building more single-family residence and condominiums and less, I'm going to say, corporate-owned facilities like large apartment complexes?
Personally, I'm frustrated with corporate-owned housing. I think it takes away from our kids having a chance to own something and to build wealth. So I'm frustrated, but we can't stop a corporation from buying a building. Now, these corporations are developing buildings. And in some cases, condos, it's individual ownership. Apartments is still owned by a corporation. I don't have any jurisdiction over who can own property.
I had read at one point that somebody on the National City in politics there was promoting the idea of fewer apartments being built on a large scale, but more condominiums, so that there could be more home ownership, and they felt that it would be a benefit to the community when you have individuals vested in their community.
Absolutely, it works every time. You look at neighborhoods where there are homeowners versus neighborhoods versus renters, and you see a difference in the cleanliness of streets, of yards, and things like that. There is a different mentality when you own something that is you worked hard for. It's a lot to do with the market. Are there enough people who want to buy or can buy those things?
It seemed that the mayor last week talked about this kind of almost being a city decision too, wanting to fit this globalist idea of these 15-minute cities. And who holds the zoning rights?
Bob is talking about, the mayor last week talking about the 15-minute city, right? That's where he's going to talk about that.
Yeah, I think if I'm understanding the 15-minute cities, everything should be with walkable or transit or something like that. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think it takes away your choices. I want to choose to have a car versus being forced to not have a car.
But what I mean, that's a city decision, wouldn't it be?
The city is zoning, how the land is used.
Yes, that's it.
Thank you.
So we can zone for density, but I don't like choices being taken away from us.
That's it. Right.
When the mayor talked about that, he mentioned that there's a difference between a smart city and a, what's the other one?
15-minute
city, and we're totally not a 15-minute city, but we are a smart city.
Yeah, smart city is technology. For instance, we have sensors in our manholes that tell us if sewage is backing up, and it hits a sensor and it says, hey, you're about to have an overflow. That's a smart city. That's a smart way to do that. There are sensors on traffic lights that can sense when cars are coming or not coming. So smart city uses technology to make things better, not, And our license plate readers, that's a smart city idea. We keep arresting people for stolen cars. There was one the other week. So 3 kids stole a car and went to Spring Valley and Yeah, we use technology.
I've had 2 cars stolen from right in front of the gallery that belonged to us. One was a 1969 Mercury Cougar that was totally restored, and we got it back, and they used it for a commercial vehicle. And then when the police called me and said they got the car because it ran out of gas, and they pulled them over. It was sitting on the side of the road. I went and got the car. It cost me about $3,000 to put it back in shape, but they let them go, and I never heard anything about it. This was the city of the city of San Diego. So there are things that happen that they have no control over, and there are things that they can do, but they have so many rules that govern them, that keep them from doing things sometimes that are just that's, like he said, it takes away your rights. Because the laws are to protect us, but many times the laws that are made to protect us don't protect us. And that's a problem. The mayor talked about the roundabout, just to go back and do a little bit on that. And I went down to that. I went to it about 3 or 4 times just to see if I could figure out how to get through it. And it is, I think it's going to create a problem. And eventually, I think they're going to have to address it. I think what's going to happen is trucks can't go through there without running over the curbs. Cars that go through there have a problem with cars coming in on you. So you're looking at the roundabout, you can't see what's coming to the left. So that's what I found. So there are several things about that will be addressed. And I guarantee you, eventually they'll have to go in and correct it to where it is more serviceable to the public. Okay, and that's it. I don't know. The mayor mentioned something about private money. Did that or something?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
It's grant money.
There was grant money, yeah.
Grant money.
You know,
Oh, okay.
And grant money always comes with strings. You can only use it for this or this or this.
Right. And then the other thing is that Steve here, when I talked to him, Councilman, several times have talked to me about various things that are going on here in El Cajon. He doesn't. He's such a super nice guy. He doesn't really tell you all the really great stuff that he's involved in for our city to help us, and we keep track of him, and he does a great job. So I think we should give him a good hand here. Thank you, Betty. I appreciate it. He's a great guy. Okay, let's just talk real quick about. Now, there's a couple of people in here, if you don't mind, Councilman. There's a couple of people that have a couple of questions that they'd like to talk to you about afterwards. Okay, they're kind of personal type stuff that you don't need to get involved in. And so if you kind of address that for them, I appreciate it. And then next week, I'll tell you about next week. Next week, Bobby Pearson brought this to our attention. And a gentleman, which I called when we talked to him, he's a really fun guy to talk to. His name is Anthony
Carnival.
Carter what?
Carnival.
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 Okay. And anyway, I would tell you I'm words with words. But anyway, he's going to be speaking next week, and we're very excited about that. And I got to tell you, I did talk to him a little bit, and he's going to bring a super nice message to us, information that's going on, and he's on the El Cajon School Board. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he's going now. The Master's Breakfast. Let me just address that just a little bit. What we're trying to do is we've come a long way, and we're getting some. You know, you guys are all my peers. You're amazing people. And Helen and I, we talk, and then I talk to individual people. Well, our goal is to make the Master's Breakfast interesting for you, to bring people in here that can talk to you about things that are going on not only in our city, but in our country, and our families, and our churches, etc. To bring information that will give you an opportunity to come in and have a nice breakfast with And the people that we bring to you are really nice people. I have a guy sitting over here, Gary, and his son, Byron, over here. I mean, these guys are amazing contractors that have done some of the most unbelievable things that you can imagine. I'm not talking about 200 or 300, 100 homes. I'm talking about 400 or 500 homes at a time. And so they do some great work and have some incredible knowledge that would be a great
talk to just have a questions and answers about the real estate market and how does it work and stuff like that. So we are working on it, and we want you to know that, okay? And then, like I said, next week, it's going to be fun. Bobby, thank you for doing that for us. And then we have a drawing every week, and my wife has the name?
Russ. You are the winner.
Russ, all right. Now we passed out. You guys got those book little, what do you call the book cards right there? We passed this out, and about a colonel, a Fulbert colonel of mine, friend of mine. I just throw that out, let you know I know some of my people. But anyway, I give this called "Proud to be an American." And I think this is great. If you want to take that and put it in the window, if you want to put that in the window of your car, great. We got lots of them. If you want to take one and hand it out to a friend. What we want to do is this meeting is about that, our country, the love of our country. And we have a Congress right now. We have a Congress, and we have a Senate, and we have a United States Supreme Court, and then on top of everything, we have a newly elected president. And you know, we live in a country where everybody's got an opinion. And so we have a lot of situations that are going on where the administrative government, the Congress and the Senate, and the leaders of our country, they made a lot of bad decisions. Well, as long as they're spending your money, it's okay. And so what we do is we have a body of people that have been elected to come in to try to clean it up so that we can maintain and keep our country, America. America is a symbol for the whole world, and we need to get it back to the foundational governing values, biblical values, governing values that the Constitution of our country has given us rules and regulations. But there are people who don't want to follow the rules. Just like you have people in the church don't want to follow the rules of the church either. They've got their own ideas, and then they're going to do what they want to do. My thinking is that we need to elect people like this gentleman, men who are Christian men who love God, men who are obedient to the oath that they take, and they go work hard for you and for me. Mayor Bill Wells came last week. He does the same thing. Men, godly men, and that's what we need. We need men in our government, men that have governing biblical values, that understand that this is one nation under God, not a God over the nation. You understand? One nation under God, and that we need to be obedient to God's laws, obedient to the laws that have been put here for us. And so with that, I'll close, if you don't mind, with a little prayer, and we'll go our ways. And Steve, thanks again, buddy, for coming. I appreciate it. Father, thank you now for this wonderful day that we can come here in the Master's Breakfast and have such a great speaker come. Bless Steve, as Councilman Steve Goble, as he does his job, as he goes in on a daily basis, and he does things to protect us and takes that he took the oath for. Bless each and every person that's sitting here today, that you will be with them and guide them and watch over them and bless them in ways that not even they would even know. And now, Lord, I pray that you'll go with us and be with us as we do our daily deeds and our things for our families and our homes and our family, our children and everything. But we just wanted to say thank you for all that you do in our lives. In thy name I pray. Amen. Amen, everybody.